Hello, good morning. Welcome to the 1990 series. My name's Amanda O'Shea, the Loving Life Coach from the Serendipity Experience. And I have with me a very good friend, Sharon Griffin she's originally from London, but now living in Clifton, County Galway in Ireland. Sharon, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Mandy. It's lovely to be part of this 99 experience that you're doing. I think it's fantastic and very enlightening. So I'm very fast.
Oh,
And am I still number?
69.
Yeah, perfect.
Sharon is an old school friend of mine. So I've known Sharon since we were like 11 years old. And that means that this year we were all 50. So we've had lots of celebrations throughout the year with all of our friends turning 50 in different months. And I had the pleasure of being in County Galway with Sharon and her family and her friends and her community, hence the 1969 sweatshirts. And it just feels so right. You were Mrs. 69 because you just made it, hey, at the end. You just the post.
Get it in.
So Sharon, it's been amazing. This is my chance to give thanks to everybody who's been a very important part of my life, and to thank you for the wonderful friend that you have been, and godmother to my son Charlie, and always been there for me. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the role that you have played by just being you, really.
Mandy, that goes both ways, you know. Thank you for being such a great friend to me. It's it's emotional,
it's emotional. And that's what we're talking about is love and emotion, you know. And I love the title that you chose, which is family love, and you know, being in that environment of your family. Just last week, the week before, of seeing that, you know, it was last week only, my goodness, that, you know, you have created this most amazing family setup with a home that is so warm and full of love, and you know, this husband that quite clearly adores you, and you know, a mother that is so proud of you, and these three boys who love each other and love you all. And it really is like this, it's like walking into this sort of fairy tale, kind of what everybody would wish for, right? I mean, that's, you know, and feeling the room, you know, feeling the love, in the room when Kevin did that speech to you at the party about how much he loves you more, you know, more today than he did 25 years ago when he married you. I mean, I don't think there was a dry eye in the place. You know? It was so, you know, just, and that's what he said, I want you to feel the love. I want you to feel it, you know, and everyone was like, we do. And it was, you know, I mean, that just must be bliss to live in that. And I know that you appreciate that so much, and you realize what you've got is kind of super special, if you like. And yet actually it feels like that's the norm, you know, that should be the norm, right? So, you know, I'd love you to talk a bit more, because you chose that subject. And is there anything you'd like to share about?
I think that, I don't know whether it's reaching 50 or 25 years of marriage, or whether it's the end of this decade and the start of a new one, but it suddenly feels like the last few weeks, everything in our lives have, all the journeys that we've been doing have suddenly all converged, and they've met in the middle. And it's just this fully awareness of what we have, and this recognition for how important what we have is, and the love, and the unconditional love. You know, it's not easy. Loving someone and having a family is not easy, and but nothing in life worth living for is. You have to go through the journey, and go through the ups and downs to really appreciate when you've got something good. So I'm probably not, I'm a bit tired, so I'm not making myself very clear, but
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Carry
I
on.
think because you know, I was trying to think. I woke up during the night last night thinking, what is family to me? And I thought, I went right back to my childhood, and you know, like many of us and our friends, our parents left Ireland, or our grandparents left Ireland when they were young. My dad left Ireland when he was 13, left his mum and his siblings. He didn't have a relationship with his father. He didn't know who his father was. So he made his own journey to the UK, arriving at the age of 13 to Liverpool, and he found an aunt there, and he stayed with her for a little while, and then he made his way down to London. And from there, he taught himself maths, and he trained himself to become a plumber. And along with his best friend at the time, who was my godfather, they set up a business in West Hampstead plumbing. And along the way, he met my mum. And my mum had left Ireland at the age of 16 and went over to London to her sister, who'd moved over previously. And she had a job and she was working as a nanny. And they met then in the Crown in Cricklewood. And they got engaged and they got married. But at that time, there wasn't the language that there is now to express yourself. It wasn't as easy for people to come out because life was tough. It was very much survival. And, you know, they left their hometown, they left their family, and they had to survive on their own. So they, you know, it wasn't very easy for them to express their feelings. And, you know, as everybody, we all have our own issues and our own baggage. And, you know, my mum and dad's relationship, although it was based in love, it was very difficult and it was very challenging for both of them. And, you know, subsequently, my dad died when he was 36 and of cancer. And my mum is amazing.
He is.
And she's such a good mum that she worked really hard to provide me with everything. And I was lucky in a way that I was an only child. So, you know, I was able to get 100% of her love and her time that she could give, whilst she still had to provide a home and food and everything. But she did it. And because I had such a great mum, that is what I wanted to be for my children. I just knew it without actually planning it or anything. I just knew inside, you know, that's what a mum is. And so when I had my family, we were working and living in London, and it was very busy. Life was hectic. We were both working in advertising, and my mum was looking after the children along with my mum's partner at the time, his daughter Lucy, who was amazing. And she was like a big sister to the boys and a younger sister to me. And we were very busy, and we didn't have as much time as we wanted with the kids. And then one day, Kevin was dropping my mum back to Cricklewood, where she lives, and he decided to go to the Irish newsagents to buy a porter cake. And he found a newspaper called the Connaught Tribune, which is the regional newspaper to this particular part of Ireland that we live in. And we had been here on holiday a couple of years before that, when Oliver was just 3 months old. Oliver's our eldest. And we really kind of fell in love with the place, but we didn't think of it that much since. And then he picked up the Connaught Tribune, came home, threw it on the kitchen table, and there was a property scene, and there was a house for sale in Clifton and Connemara. And life was so crazy. I wasn't bringing up my children the way that I wanted to. And so at the time, we didn't have Ryanair online. So I went up to the travel agents and I booked a flight. And I found myself talking to Emma Bunting's mum from the Spice Girls, because she lived in the area. And I booked a flight, and 2 days later, I flew over to see a house that was advertised in that Connaught Tribune. And I saw 3 houses in that 2-day trip. And I made an offer on one of them. And we moved 6 weeks later. Kevin never saw the house until the night before we moved in. He drove over with a lot of our belongings, and my mum and I and the 3 boys flew over, and we stayed in a B&B. And the house that we bought used to be the residence of a local association, Griffin, here in Clifton, and they accommodate lovely members of our community who need that extra love and attention. And that's what this house was. It was full of love and attention for all its residents. And even though it was in a dire mess, it was just dreadful. The day that we moved in, I walked into the kitchen, and the owner of the house had requested a neighbour pull out all the kitchen appliances from the kitchen cupboards. So it was just a skeleton, and it was very dark, and it smelt, and it was just really miserable that I walked out. And I said to my mum, "Oh my God, what have I done?" And then over a period of 18 months, we sold our little bungalow in Barnet. And with the money we put towards renovating the house, and now it's what it is. And it's taken a good few years to, it's still like this year we've done a lot of work to just really make it our home, because we realized after kind of 5 years of our children leaving that actually they've left now. It's really going to be us two most of the time. So we don't have to have this huge big kitchen table in the kitchen anymore. We can have a smaller table and put that big table in another room and just use it occasionally. And so it's like unblocked a lot of energy blockers in the house. And it's just made it more open and cozy and welcoming. So it's you know, it's a really lovely place to be. And I think a lot of people who turned up for the party could feel the difference as well. And they commented on it. So that's our family. That's where we are now. And our, you know, we've had a few ups and downs. This year has been particularly challenging. And, you know, my husband's father had a heart attack in September whilst he was visiting, and his grandmother passed away a few weeks ago in her second week of her 100th year, which is amazing. And she was an incredible lady. And so, you know, when things like this happen, unfortunately, my parents-in-law were here in Clifton when my father-in-law, Patrick, had a heart attack. I think it couldn't have been a better place for that kind of thing to happen, because we are their closest family in Europe. You know, my sister-in-law and the children live in Australia. And so Kevin was here to support his mum and bringing her in and out to Galway whilst Patrick was in hospital. And it was one of those things that just unblock another blockage, you know, and it's another way to show how much you love your family, to be able to spend time with them and to give them that love and support, and vice versa. I think it's such a privilege. And then there's been a few other things, and you know, my 3 sons up until a few weeks ago all lived together in Dublin, and two of the youngest ones work together. And I love it when people say, oh God, you're so lucky, you must have done something right for them to want to live together and work together. And I kind of thought, all I could see was, well, at least one of them is keeping an eye on one of the others. There's always someone keeping an eye on one of them, you know. And it was because of that, something came to our attention that was quite a challenge to our family dynamic, and we have been addressing it since, and it will be something that will need to be addressed in the future. But you know what, we have such a great family, and we can support each other, that whatever life throws at us, we know we've got each other's backs. And that's so important. But also, and what I really want to say too is, it doesn't always, that family love doesn't always have to come from the family that you're born into. It can come from other people too, and it can come from your friends. Like when I was younger, I really had to, as being an only child, and because my childhood was quite difficult, I really reached out to a lot of other people and connected with their families and got the strength that I needed from those families. And I had lots of little families going on. I was like a little butterfly or a bee feeding off all the nectar of all these beautiful people around me. And you know, growing up, we have our friendships, you know, with you, your family. Look at your 50th. They were there. Your dad, your mum, you know, they were there. And it's such a joy to witness. And, you know, your dad reminded me of a comment that I said to him just as we had, after my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and we had to downsize from a beautiful big house in West Hampstead to what I thought was like a terraced house straight out of Coronation Street. And I never saw that house until the day that we moved in. So I wonder where I got buying a house without showing your family from. My dad had found a house. He wanted to set my mum up so she didn't have a big mortgage or anything. And he knew he only had a few months to live. So he sold our house in West Hampstead, and he found this little house. And I was, you know, a teenager at the time, and I was like disgusted that we were kind of moving to this tiny little house. And I said it to your dad, and he said to me in the summer, he reminded me of that comment that I'd said to him of, oh, I don't want to move here. I never saw the house until we moved in. And he said, I thought at the time, well, I'm sure your dad never planned on having cancer and having to downsize. But he never said it to me at the time, because he was a dad and he didn't want to expose me to that. He kept quiet, but he told me then in the summer, and we laughed about it. And it was a good reminder, you know, that where your mindset is at different stages of your life and how you perceive things. So yeah, the thing of family is that you don't have to always have the family that you're born into. You can get things from other people's families and friendships too.
So thank you, Sharon, for your vulnerability. And you said it was going to be emotional. And we just don't know, do we? What's, you know, that's so lovely. I learned things there about you that I didn't know. It's so interesting for me to have known that. And I think you're so right. You know, what I heard in that little story was the resilience that we have actually as human beings, no matter what the circumstances. And you know, anybody who's watching this who has that history of sort of that, especially that Irish Catholic kind of upbringing, you know, from Southern Ireland, and you know, it was really tough. You know, I mean, it was tough then when they had to leg it, if you like. There was nothing, nothing there. We don't know what that's like. You know, we've never been hungry. You know, the stories of
No.
being.
And also, do you remember, Mandy, and you remember, and like all our friends who ever, if they ever watch this, they will remember their parents saying that they moved over to London. Well, for us, it was London. But at that time, there was a lot of trouble in between Britain and Ireland, and it was very difficult for Irish people to feel comfortable there because of their Irish accents.
Yeah,
It was, signs on the window saying "No dogs, no blacks, no Irish."
yeah,
I mean, that was the resilience of those people who went over there, and they put their head down and they worked and they did the hardest jobs that a lot of people there were prepared to do.
yeah,
And they persevered and they made a name for themselves. They had families, they had strength in their community, and that very much so probably evolved around the parishes that they went to mass every Sunday, and they had their social life and everything. So I think we can look back and we can see that resilience, and we see the sacrifices that our parents made for us. And I have, when I'm saying this, I have one person who I know made a lot of sacrifices, and he was such a stubborn man and a strong man, but it was actually him that made me persevere living here in Ireland, because his name's Cecil. He passed away recently, but he's Tracy's dad, and he's from Donegal. He's a real hard man. He left Killybegs at a young age, and he really established himself in London, and had a building business and worked really hard and suffered fools. No, he didn't suffer them at all. And I remember, he's quite a tough cookie. And when I moved to Ireland, when I first moved, and I used to phone Tracy, and sometimes I'd be in tears on the phone, he said to Tracy, "I'll give her 6 months and she'll be back." And I heard him say that. And I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to use this again. I'm not going back.
You're so happy there, Sharon, aren't you? I mean, you've got this. You're such a big part of the community there, and your wonderful eco chic boutique, and your wonderful dreams that you have, and so much that you're up to. You've created something really beautiful, and it's very, very lovely to see that you're. There's something you said there that really resonated with me, which is, we don't, seeing the oneness of life, seeing that we're all from the same stock, seeing that we're all human beings and we're all made of love, and we get to live love in the experience that our particular situation brings to us, whether that we've got sisters, whether that's we've got children, whether that's we've got husbands, whether that's we've got parents, whatever that might be, we've got a certain situation. But we don't have to have everything to appreciate that it exists. I don't have to have a certain setup to be able to see that exists, to be able to see that love's available, that love exists. So we had somebody on one of our retreats this year who didn't have such a good relationship with her sister, and seeing that my sister-in-law Katie was there with her sister Kelly, and they're like this, they're tight, and that stirred up things in her, that stirred up that kind of, I wish I had that with my sister. But actually, by the end of the week, just seeing, wow, just the fact that sisterly love exists is really beautiful to witness. And the fact that I don't have it, so the fact that we don't have something, but seeing that it exists, like if we could see that, we step out of our own, oh, that's not fair that I'm not experiencing that. Yeah. But just seeing that that's there to be enjoyed as a witness, as an observer, kind of has a whole different spin on neighborly jealousy, or kind of or envy, or whatever it might be, because it's existing, and the only thing that gets in the way really of of any of our blockages or our trials and tribulations or whatever is us wanting the way it is to be different. I mean, that something is a certain way, and we'd prefer it to be different. Who wouldn't want their circumstances to be flowy and easy and whatever? But it's just not life. Life is just is full of ups and downs and good, bad, and ugly, and we've got everything we need to withstand that kind of the wind of life that brings in the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've got sails, we've got strength, we've got everything we need to have all the experiences.
Yes, yeah, I agree, and I think, obviously we don't have that sisterly. We don't have sisters, you and I, but we're like sisters. I mean, I'm a grey version of you, and there's a third one in Australia right now looking after her family and a new grandchild just about to come into the world any day now. And so we can recognise, I saw what Katie and her sister had at your party, and I called them the flower pixies because they were just so cute. They were so lovely. That love to witness was such a gift. Such a gift to all of us. And you don't have to be a blood sister to have that. Like, we have that bond. We have it with Bernie. We don't have to see each other every day. I have it with all my lovely friends in London. I have it with my girlfriends here in Clifton and my family. You don't have to be blood to have that connection and experience that gift. And always know that it is there for everybody to there is. I think we should all have a picture in our heads to work towards what we want to achieve. Like, I wanted to have a home. It was like I wanted my house to be like my granny's house, and this is exactly what my granny's house was like, a white 2-story house in the middle of Ireland. We're on the west coast though. And I wanted a garden, front garden and a back garden. That was the picture that I drew as a kid. And I wanted a family and my children, a dog and a cat and all of those things. You have to have a picture in your head and subconsciously or consciously work towards that achieving and believe in it, because I think that we can do mighty things if we believe in ourselves.
It's mighty, absolutely. And there is something of having, keeping our dreams alive and really seeing that we are the artist. We paint our own picture, and part of it is the dreams, because we don't have to physically have something to feel that thing. I've got this gift called imagination, so I play with that, and I can have the experience of something that isn't even in the sort of physical reality, but I can feel it, because it's like, oh, imagine that. Well, yeah, imagine that, and I get this wonderful warm feeling. It's the same thing as living in a world of fear as living in a world of love. Imagine that. Oh, scary, fearful. Wow. We're not so creative when we come from that fearful place. We're really creative when we keep our dreams and keep hope alive, and see that actually it all happens inside anyway. So I can have that experience of watching a couple who are, look like they've just fallen in love, walking around the park, holding hands, and I can watch them and have that feeling of, oh, young love, that's so beautiful, without having to be in that. That's amazing. That's the gift we all have. So I totally agree with you. Keep your dreams alive, keep your hopes alive. Dream and reach for the stars and keep your feet on the ground and just see what shows up. And wow, isn't that a nice feeling? I've got a nice feeling right now.
Good, so have I.
Yeah.
And it's, what time is it? It's 8:30 here in Ireland, and I'm just about to go to work to get my goodies together, because for the first time ever, our shop Owed by Gum is going to have a little table in our local community hall, our town hall, and we're having a Clifton Christmas market. And I'm so excited because I've got all these lovely little gadgets and beautiful, ethical beauty products and jewellery and everything. And it's just so nice to be able to go up into the town in the centre of our community, have a little table, and it's a bit like being back working on a market stall or something. You know, I love that, and I really miss that from being a Londoner. You know, Kevin and I think, gosh, we would be great if we had a market stall.
Yeah, there's something special about, and the Christmas market thing and the whole thing. So Sharon, thank you so much. 1969 was a good year. Okay, there was
It was a good year, yeah, and I'm really excited about 2020.
Yeah, and so the peace and love lives on, hey, in all of us. We're all little hippies at heart, little fairies, little gypsies, you know, at heart. And thank you for everything. Love to everybody over there in Clifton, County Galway, with love from sunny Spain. And I'll see you when I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Love you.
Okay, lots of love. Bye bye, my lovely. Thank you to everybody who's listening. I hope that you enjoyed this, and lots of love to all the girls and all the boys, and especially Bernie in Australia, the third triplet, and everybody from the 1969 gang. Love to you all. Bye bye bye. Bye bye.